Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Let's see, everyone's getting on now. Awesome. My name is Heather. I am our head of customer success here at Sendible, and I'm going to be taking us through today's session. Today, we are going to be focusing on white labels. So we're really going to dive into white label customization and different areas that you can use to really make the most of your white label account. I will spend really most of the session diving into that, and then we will save some time at the end for any questions you might have, and Patrick from our customer support team will join us to help with those questions as needed. If you do have questions throughout the session, you can submit them into our question box, which if you see the chat, I'm just going to, Marcus is typing, you'll see him. He just said, hi, everyone. The question box is just to the left of the chat if you're looking at it. So if I could ask that you just pop your questions into the question tab, that'll help us. If they go into the chat, it's easy sometimes for us to lose them or miss something, and I want to make sure we get all of them. So pop them into the question tab, and we will make sure to answer those at the end of the session. If I can also just ask that you keep it relevant to today's topic, which is white labels, that'll make sure that we're able to get to all of them as well. Awesome. So to get us started, we always love to start with an icebreaker. And I have been dreaming about going on vacation. So I thought a fun one would be, where is your favorite place that you have visited before? Vacation, travel, favorite place you've been to. Mine is St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. I actually lived there for a couple years, but it still is one of my favorite places. Vegas, that's a good one. That is definitely a close one for me as well. Highlands in Scotland, wow. Oh, I love all of them. Yep, Tortola is an awesome one too. Very cool. Great, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here and dive into the white label. You guys continue submitting those into the chat box. Let's just make sure we're all set up here. 1 second. Let me turn this off real quick. All right, sorry about that. All right, perfect. So you can see my screen. So I am just logged in here to a sample white label. So just like a test white label account for myself. And you'll notice up on the left here, it says your logo. So keeping in mind, this is just a sample. So your white label is going to look different than my white label, right? Because your white label is branded for your company. So you would normally see your logo here where it's just kind of showing as an example there. So for the first part of the session, I'm going to dive into white label customization, a couple different areas that you guys have access to do fun different things with the white label. And then I am also going to talk a little bit about the white label setup, just in case there's anyone on today's session that does not have a white label account yet and is interested, or maybe you weren't part of the setup. I'll just go through a couple quick little things just to highlight so that everyone's aware of those as well. So as an admin user, you're able to get into your white label settings. So you have to be an admin user on the account to be able to do what I'm going to show you guys in today's session. So as an admin user, when you log in and you click on your name in the top right, this is where you normally go to, manage users, look at your subscription details, anything like that. You'll also see under admin where it says white label settings. So if we come in here to where it says white label settings, on the right-hand side, it's going to show you your navigation. That's all going to be related to your white label settings. So it first pops you into company details, which is a pretty simple area to get started with. Most of this information is what you provided back to us at Sendible when we first created your white label. So company name, company email, and website, as well as your logo. So you'll see your logo in the top left on your dashboard. If you ever need to update your logo, you can do that right from company details. You can update it right here in your dashboard. Your company name is the company name that you provided to us that you want it to be for the white label. This is also going to be what's reflected in your browser tab. So you'll see here, let me make sure you can't see my browser tab, but it does say Sendler by Sendible. So just like when you open a new tab, you have that little pop of the tab, and you have a favicon and you have like a name of the page that you're on. The company name is what is related to that. So if that ever needs to be updated, that can be updated here in the company name as well. You can always update your company email and your website from this section also. The one thing that I would note that you cannot update from here, and you would have to get in contact with us at Sendible about, is your favicon. So if for any reason, maybe you're rebranding and you update your logo, your company name, and you need that favicon to be updated, go ahead and send that back to us at Sendible and we'll be able to get that updated for you. Otherwise, company details is pretty simple, right? Just information about your company, simple stuff there. Moving into system configuration is where we really start to get into some of that customization, and then we'll continue into design and layout. So here where you see general settings, default language, that's just the language that you want to be for the dashboard. Support URL. This is actually something that I would say can be used as a best practice, but is somewhat underused. I see quite a bit. So the support URL is something that you will input in, right? So it's going to be blank if you haven't used this previously. But what it does is for your users, it populates an option for them to contact. So if this site was not, if this field was blank, if I was a user and I logged in, I would not see this contact area. It just would not be an option for me on the white label. But since there is information in this field, it's created this contact option for me. So any of your users, whether they don't have to be an admin for this, right? They can be clients or team members. They will, if they click on their name, they'll have their normal preferences. They'll also have this option for contact. Now, when they click on contact, it's going to take them to whatever information we've put in here. So here is a URL that's taking us back to the Sendible help desk. This also can be like a mail to email address. So if you want it to be a contact to then contact someone specific on your team or like a group inbox, you could have that here. And when they click on it, it'll populate kind of that mail to option. So I'm just going to open it in a new tab just to show you what it would look like if I did. It'll just pop you open to, in this example, the help desk for Sendible, but whatever information is there. It's a great option for white labels. And like I said, sometimes I see it underused. So I would definitely say as a best practice, especially if you have clients logging in quite a bit, it can be a great area to have available for them. Moving into tracking and widgets. So Google Analytics tracking ID, this allows you to put in your Google Analytics tracking ID to track some metrics from your white label dashboard back to Google Analytics. This is very different than if you went into the reports hub in your dashboard and wanted to pull in like a Google Analytics report. This is different in that we're taking your tracking ID to send some information from your white label back to Google Analytics. Here where you see custom widget code, I would say this is also another option or awesome feature of the white label that could be a bit underused. So with a white label account, when your clients log into it, they are not going to see our resource center, which is this question mark here that has our resource center, all of our help desk stuff, contacting support. As your clients, they're not going to see that from Sendible, right? Because you're a white label. But what you can do is you can actually add in your own. So if you have a chat provider that you use, such as Drift, Drift is a common one I see, or any chat that you have on your website, or a portal that you have for your clients, you can actually embed that widget code here and pull that chat into the white label. So when your clients log in, they're not going to see this, but they would instead see the chat that you or the widget that you've embedded. So that can be a great option there. URL shortening, this allows you to go ahead and set your URL shortening, and you can add in, if you do have a premium Bitly account, your access token here as well. All right, so moving into design and layout, let me just check something. Don't forget to submit any questions if you guys have them, please. Moving into design and layout here, this is really where you're thinking about like the look and feel of your white label. So from a design standpoint, you'll see design layout, themes, and custom CSS. So themes here, this is going to be a long list of different themes that you are able to go through and preview to look at different coloring that can be applied for your white label. Now that's going to affect like the coloring of the dashboard in certain areas, like the compose box button. You'll see that this is blue. So just different things like this, you can use these themes to go through and use. The area that I would recommend, so the themes are great if you want to go through and look at different colors. They're just not going to be exact, right, to your coloring because they're preset. If you are looking to make it more specific to your branding, you can use custom CSS to do so. So you do have access, again, as an admin to come into the custom CSS and make modifications. We do have a guide that we provide on this as well through a help desk article, which I'll link in just a moment. The one thing with the custom CSS is I always just recommend, if you're going to make changes, make sure that you or whoever is doing it is familiar with CSS in making those updates. Additionally, keep the changes simple to more of like the theme, so like the coloring of the dashboard. I never would recommend that you really like come in and hide a bunch of buttons or move things around. The reason for that is as we make updates, which we do regularly, we don't want those updates to impact your white label. As an example, if you hit a button or moved a button from here to there and we made an update, we wouldn't want that to impact your white label without being able to let you know about it because you've changed the custom CSS. But what's really great that you can do with the CSS is change that branding to make it match your branding. So as an example here where you see the compose button, let's say you want this to match like the color from your logo. You could do that through the custom CSS. So you do have quite a few options. Like I said, we have an awesome help desk article that as soon as I'm done with my kind of walkthrough here, I'll link that into the chat so you have it. And it talks about custom CSS, and then it also has a guide included as well, kind of talking through what is available for custom CSS. Awesome. Moving into custom menus. If I was going to say best practices from a white label standpoint, this is probably one of the ones that I really try to focus on and get our customers to use because it can add so much benefit to your white label. So custom menus, what it's going to allow you to do is add a custom dropdown at the top of your navigation. So wherever you are in your dashboard, you have the normal navigation to move from like publishing to reporting and so on from there. You'll notice that this one has the option for more as well with resources. And that's because we've created a custom menu. Now to do so, you just create a custom menu, and we'll use this one that's already been created as an example. And you're just going to give it a navigation label, right? So where are we going to? And then where should we be directing your users to if they come to this kind of navigation custom menu? So you would put that URL in here, and then you would choose, are we going to use it as like a URL to link them out? It would link them out in a new tab. Or are we going to try to iframe in some of that information from that URL so it keeps them within the dashboard? Just a note on this, with iframing, not all websites are going to allow you to iframe information into another site. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes the URL link out is going to be the best option. But this can be really awesome to use if you have your clients logging in and you want them to have easy access to another portal that you have. Maybe it's a CRM system, or maybe a billing system that you want them to have access to, additional training resources that you want to provide to them. Even from like a marketing standpoint, if you have other products that you offer or you want to link them back to your blog, it can just be a great way to have that in the dashboard. So it really is like an all-in-one place that they can just come to, have these custom areas that they can go into. Another great way that I've seen this used is with your white label. You get a quick start guide, which is just like a walkthrough of using the white label from like a user perspective that you can share with your clients. So it doesn't necessarily have the Sendible branding on it. It's much more for you to give to your clients as they're getting set up. And that could be hosted as a URL, and you could actually link that here as well as a resource for them. So many different options you have with using the custom menus. But like I said, definitely a best practice. I think it can add a lot of value to the white label. If you're not using it, I recommend giving it a try and seeing if it can fit in with your strategy. All right. And then last area here is trial settings. So let's just go ahead and come in here. Now with trial settings, what this is really thinking about is it gives you the option to enable or disable trials of your white label, meaning you can give your prospects or your clients the option to sign up for a trial for your white label account, and you would set that off through here. So if this is disabled, what that means is when someone goes to agency1.sendler.com, as an example, that's my white label domain, they're only going to have an option to log in. So they would have already had a user account created by an admin on your account, right? You give them their credentials, they can then go to your subdomain and log in. When we enable the trial sign up form, what it does is it adds a sign up option to that subdomain and activates this direct link as well. And it allows those users to then go up and sign themselves up. So instead of you creating their user account under manage users, they can actually go to this trial sign up and sign themselves up with their name, their company information, phone number, all that stuff can it be included in that sign up form. You choose how long you want these trials to last for. Up to 30 days will be the option. And then who do you want to receive notifications when someone signs up for a trial? You can set this to yes or no. I always recommend setting it to yes. So someone on your team knows that someone has signed up for a trial, and you can determine who that person is here. Now, thinking about trials, there's a couple things to talk about with trials. If someone signs up as a trial, whoever is listed here will get a notification. So Dan, as an example, is going to get a notification that, let's say me, Heather, has signed up for a trial. At that point, I sign up, I'm brought directly into the white label. So I have access, right? I signed up for a trial, I'm in, I have access. Dan, when Dan logs in as an admin, when he comes to manage users, he is going to be able to see, we'll just say here, he'll be able to see myself that I've signed up as a trialist. It'll show here as a trial, and it's also going to show you the number of days left on the trial. So if you set it for 7 and they signed up 2 days ago and they have 5 days left, it's going to show you 5 days. So you can keep track of how much time is left. Now, at some point between when the trial is started and when that trial ends, so depending on the time frame that you set, an admin, whoever's kind of managing this process, will need to come into the user area of the dashboard just here and move that user off of a trial into a full account if they're going to continue using your dashboard. And so to do so, there will just be a button right here. Here we go. Here's an example, sorry. Where you see it says upgrade. So these have already expired, right? So it's not showing us a day because it's already expired. Otherwise, it would say, 5 days or so on left. Now, what we would do is we would click upgrade, and all that's going to do is move them from this trial account into a full client account. If it does not get upgraded before the trial runs out, so just this one as an example, trial expired, this user will not be able to log in. You'll see it doesn't delete them. So they're still there. Their information is still there. If we decide to upgrade them, they do end up moving forward. They just won't be able to log in. One of the really good benefits about that is from a billing perspective is all of your billing is handled outside of the white label, right? That's not actually handled within Sendible, the billing between you and your clients, I mean. And so if someone signed up for the trial, but you haven't billed them yet, you want to make sure that you're able to bill them and they're going to pay if they're going to continue using it. So that's when you would then be able to upgrade them from there. One other thing to note about with trial users is even though they've signed up for a trial and they are using a trial account per se of the white label, they still count as an active user in your user allocation. The reason for that is they're still taking a user seat, right, from your account because they're still using it. So you'll notice here that if you have one trialist, it'll show that within your active user account, your active users here. So keeping in mind, you'll see how this is just a demo account, but how there's all of these expired trials. Well, they're taking up user accounts. They're showing as inactive, but it's still a user account on my account in my allocation. So you just want to make sure that you're managing it, that if they're not going to move forward, you don't need their information in there anymore. You would come in and actually delete them as a user. And then that way they're not taking up that user allocation. Of course, if they're moving forward, that's awesome, right? And you want them to take that allocation and you would just upgrade them from there. Awesome. Let's see, what else? So we went through company details, system configuration, design and layout, and trial settings. I think I touched on everything with the trial settings, so that's perfect. Let me check real quick. I don't see any questions. I do have a couple more things I can run through quickly, but please, if you have questions, pop them in to the question box so we can help adjust them. But since I don't see anything yet, a couple things that I wanted to run through is actually taking a step back and thinking about the white label setup process. So if there's anyone on today's session who is not on a white label account yet and you're interested, this will be helpful. But also if there's anyone on here who maybe wasn't part of the setup initially of the white label, I just wanted to touch on a few of these things. So under company details, I mentioned we take information from you to create your white label. So once you determine to move forward with a white label plan on Sendible, there are a few like action items we need from you in order to really get your white label created and then delivered back to you so you can start using it. Your logo, your company name, those are both going to be needed. A few details about your company, like the email address you would want clients to see, your website, things like that. We'll take that information from you. The three main ones that we need before we can create your white label are going to be your logo and your favicon. So I know you can't see my browser tab, but in a browser tab, you always have like a favicon that goes with the tab. And so you will send us a favicon and we will include that with your white label so it's there. So logo, favicon. The other thing that is key for a white label is we have to get CNAMEs from you. We require 2 CNAMEs. And what that is the first CNAME is your custom subdomain. So if anyone's logging into your white label, it's going to be the domain that they use to log in. I mentioned in this example, we used the Sendbler term. So it was like agency1.sendbler.com. That would be specific to your company, right? So it wouldn't say Sendible in it. It would be your business. Sometimes I see, social.company.com or social dashboard, whatever makes the most sense for your business. And so that's one of the CNAMEs. The second is, I guess I can say more like the back end. It helps just kind of connect everything together. And it's for more for like the API side of things. So sometimes we just see api.company.com, right? So there's 2 CNAMEs that we have to get from you. In creating your white label, we send over instructions to try to help with getting those CNAMEs created. So just kind of how to walk through that process with your domain registrar. And then once they're set up and pointing back to us and we have that information from you, we're able to create the white label. So it is a simple, hopefully we try to make it as simple as possible, but it's just a few key details that we need to make sure it's customized for you so it doesn't show as the Sendible dashboard. If you ever need to change your CNAMEs, so your white label is already created and you need to change one or both of your CNAMEs for any reason at any time. This does come up quite a bit. We have to know that you're going to change them. If you change them and you don't tell us, your white label is not going to work because we no longer have access to those CNAMEs because you've made new ones. And so your white label isn't connected to them. So if you are looking to change your CNAMEs, I always recommend getting in contact with us at Sendible, and we'll provide some information on that. Really what that is just making sure that the CNAMEs you're changing it to are going to kind of work with the white label. And provide information around what that update is going to look like, how long it'll take, any additional information that we need from you. So just keeping in mind, if you need to change, I mentioned you can change your logo here or your company name or your company email, but if you have to change your CNAMEs, please reach out to us ahead of time before you make any changes. That way we avoid any interruptions for your white label and your users. Awesome. I'm going to stop talking now. Let's stop sharing. I don't see any questions yet. Questions? Let me get that help desk article really quick and see here. Patrick is on as well. I haven't asked him to join yet just because I haven't seen any questions. But let's see if I can get this article. So quiet, no questions. I had it and just lost it. Let's see. Perfect. So I'm just going to link this into the chat for you. It's just a help desk article. I'll actually share it really quick so you guys can see. So you'll just see here, it's just change white label design. So it talks about the CSS and how to do that. It's going to go through kind of what I talked about. You'll notice here, there's also using CSS to customize your white label. This is an awesome guide that I recommend if you're going to look at changing the CSS. You definitely go ahead and use that. Let me just go ahead and pop this in. So custom CSS resource. So if anyone needs this, you can access it. Again, it is in the help desk area, and you can find it just from Change Your White Label Design. Awesome. Well, I think that is it. If there is no questions, I hope this was helpful for everyone and valuable. I appreciate everyone joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you next week for our next session. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Have a great day.